The courtroom was full. Cameras weren't allowed, but that didn't matter. Every reporter in the country had flown in. Every entertainment blog was tuned in. Every fan base, especially Taylor Swift's, was watching with their breath held. This wasn't just another celebrity fight. This was something else entirely. A bomb waiting to explode. Diddy walked in slowly, wearing a tailored gray suit. His face was serious, his eyes sharp. There was no music behind him this time, no bodyguards hyping him up. Just silence. A heavy, bitter silence that followed him all the way to his seat. For weeks, rumors had been swirling. He's going to name her. No way, not Taylor Swift. It has to be someone else. But deep down, people knew. Something had been off. Diddy had been dropping hints, and the internet had been pulling the strings together. But no one was ready for what he was about to say, especially not in court, under oath. On the other side of the room, Taylor Swift sat stiffly next to her legal team. Her face was calm, even soft, but her eyes didn't move from the front of the courtroom. She looked like someone who had been warned, and who was still hoping this day wouldn't come. The judge cleared his throat. "Mr. Combs, are you prepared to give your statement?" Diddy stood. He didn't look at the judge. He looked at the jury. Then he looked right at Taylor. "I am," he said. He stepped forward slowly. He paused, then spoke in a steady, clear voice. "I've been in this business longer than most of the people in this room have been alive. I've seen shady deals, dirty contracts, fake friendships. I've survived it all. But I never thought I'd be standing here, saying this out loud." People leaned forward. In 2018, my career hit a strange wall. Suddenly, doors started closing. Labels backed out of meetings. My tour got postponed for logistics, even though we had sold out dates. My collaborations were dropped last minute. Producers stopped returning calls. At first, I thought it was just business. It happens. But then, he paused again. Then I got a call from someone inside a label. Quiet. Off the record. They told me that I was being blacklisted. Gasps filled the room. The judge raised his hand for silence. Diddy turned slightly, pointing toward Taylor without needing to say her name again. They said the push came from someone at the top of the pop industry. Someone with more influence than anyone realized. Someone whose image was clean, sweet, America's music darling. But behind the curtain, she was pulling strings like a puppet master. He looked directly at Taylor now. She sabotaged my career. Not because I wronged her. Not because I hurt her. But because I said no to something she wanted. The room froze. Taylor blinked once, but her face didn't change. Diddy kept going. She wanted to own a specific label. One I had interest in. She reached out through her people, asked if I'd back out. I didn't. I said I wanted to see the deal through. A week later, the problems started. My meetings were canceled, lawyers pulled out, partners dropped me, just like that. He clenched his fist for a moment, then relaxed. But that wasn't enough. She didn't just want the deal. She wanted control. Total silence. So she went further. Started leaking fake stories. Paid off blogs to write I was difficult. That I was unreliable. There were stories about old lawsuits. Some of them true, most of them twisted. Diddy's lawyer stood and presented a thick binder to the judge. "These are records of leaked PR memos traced back to Swift's publicity firm," he said. "We have internal emails with redacted signatures, but the trail leads directly to her top team." Taylor's lawyer jumped up, yelling, "Objection!" But the judge allowed the evidence. Then came the final blow. A single printed document submitted silently to the court. A phone log. It showed a string of private calls between Taylor's manager and two powerful music execs, right around the time Diddy's tour was shut down and deals began to collapse. Diddy took a step back. She didn't just play the game, she wrote the rules. Outside the courtroom, fans were screaming. The press was in chaos. Diddy names Taylor Swift in Sabotage case. Swift's empire under attack. Music industry shaken by new lawsuit. But inside, it was still quiet. Taylor finally spoke. Her voice was low. I deny everything. This is fiction. The judge looked at both sides. We will review the evidence and continue testimony tomorrow. As the court adjourned, Taylor walked out quickly, surrounded by lawyers and guards. But Diddy stayed. He looked around the room, calm, collected. He knew this was just the beginning. He hadn't dropped everything yet. Because the darkest part of the story hadn't been told. The second day of court was even more intense than the first. Cameras weren't allowed inside the courtroom, but that didn't stop hundreds of fans and reporters from gathering outside. Some held signs defending Taylor Swift. Others stood silently, waiting for something big. The air felt like it could explode at any moment. Inside, Diddy sat quietly in the front row. His hands were resting on the table. He wasn't angry, at least not on the surface. He looked calm, like a man who knew the truth was finally catching up with everyone who had tried to bury it. Taylor Swift entered through a side door, avoiding the press. Her face was calm but tight. She wore a gray blazer, simple makeup, and no jewelry. But it was her eyes that said the most. They didn't move from the table. They didn't look at the audience or the judge or Diddy. She was locked in, frozen, waiting. The judge began. Today we will review digital communications provided by the plaintiff's legal team. These include email logs, internal memos, and metadata showing intentional disruption of Mr. Combs's career activities. Diddy's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we present Exhibit 14A, a set of emails from a top publicity agency used by Ms. Swift's team between 2018 and 2019. The courtroom screen lit up. A series of emails appeared. The first email was short. Target, Combs. Begin slow media spread. Focus on lawsuits, erratic behavior. Avoid direct mention. Use language like sources say or insiders reveal. Below it was the sender's name, a known publicist who had worked directly with Taylor's camp in the past. The recipient? A popular gossip editor in New York. Another email followed. Shut down partnership, Apple Beats. Rumor about unpaid production fee should help stall. Diddy clenched his jaw. He remembered that deal. It had collapsed overnight. No one had ever explained why. Until now. The courtroom murmured. Taylor's lawyer stood and objected again. These emails were stolen from a private server. The judge shook his head. They were subpoenaed legally. Your client's signature appears on the authorization logs. The evidence stands. Then came the most explosive email yet. He's pushing back too hard. Time to make him radioactive. I want 3 red flags on Google News by Friday. Tell them he's becoming unpredictable. Tie it to the old assault case even if it doesn't connect. Silence. Then gasps. Someone in the audience audibly whispered, "Oh my God." Diddy didn't move. Taylor finally looked up. Her eyes met the screen. She looked stunned, maybe even betrayed, like she hadn't known how far her team had gone. The judge called for order. Diddy's lawyer wasn't done. We also have a witness ready to speak today. She worked directly under the PR agency listed in these emails. She's agreed to testify publicly and on record. The doors opened, and in walked Danica Morris, a former junior manager at one of the top publicity firms in the music world. She was known online as the Fixer's Assistant, someone who handled influencer stories, edited headlines before they were published, and delivered talking points to late-night shows. She walked up slowly, nervous but firm. She raised her hand and took the oath. Please state your role and relationship to the parties involved. Danica cleared her throat. I worked at Orion Public Strategies from 2017 to 2020. During that time, I was part of the media control unit. Our job was to build or bury celebrity narratives depending on client needs. The room was silent again. Did you ever receive instructions concerning Sean Combs, also known as Diddy? Yes? From whom? She hesitated. From senior PR officials working under contract with Taylor Swift's brand team. Taylor's lawyer stood. Objection. Overruled, said the judge. Let her finish. Danica continued. In early 2019, we were told that Mr. Combs was becoming a problem. He was competing with a label deal that Swift's team wanted. We were instructed to cloud his image, which meant feeding negative stories to blogs, pulling friendly media invites, and rerouting interviews. She looked at Diddy now. I'm sorry, I knew it was wrong, but I was scared. Everyone was. Diddy nodded once. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. Danica pulled out a flash drive and handed it to the court clerk. It has the raw timelines, internal tags, who ordered what and when. It's all there. Taylor whispered something to her attorney. Her posture changed, no longer calm but tense, defensive. Outside, the internet exploded. Taylor Sabotage trended on Twitter. TikTok was flooded with clips breaking down every word Danica said. Reddit users dug up past media shifts, where Diddy's project suddenly got canceled with no reason. Now it all made sense. Inside the courtroom, the judge called for recess. As the crowd cleared, Diddy stood in the hallway. Reporters asked him for a comment. He paused, then said one line, "You can't sing your way out of the truth." And he walked away. Back in her private room, Taylor sat alone. Her lawyers spoke in quiet tones around her. She scrolled her phone, watching the headlines multiply. Her face stayed cold, but her hand kept shaking. Because she knew there was still one name left to be revealed, a name that could burn everything to the ground. The courtroom hadn't even opened yet when the internet broke wide open. At exactly 7:02 a.m., a video appeared on a small, anonymous Twitter account. It was only 30 seconds long. The screen was black, no faces, no visuals, but the audio was crystal clear. The voice of a man spoke first. Calm, smooth, confident. He's not playing along. Shut him down before it spreads. Then came a woman's voice, higher, more familiar, measured, sharp. He's not bigger than this machine. Diddy has an ego. Use it against him. The video ended there, but that was all it took. People instantly recognized the voice. It was Taylor Swift. Thousands of comments exploded within minutes. Fans who once defended her now asked questions. TikTok creators slowed the audio, compared interviews. Even AI voice tools confirmed a 96% match with Taylor's public recordings. And just like that, the world stopped. By the time court resumed at 9 a.m., the judge was already prepared. I have reviewed the leaked audio, he said. Its origin is unconfirmed, but it is now part of public record. If authentication is possible, it will be submitted into evidence. Taylor sat frozen. Her legal team spoke in hushed panic. They didn't deny it, not yet, but they also didn't confirm it. They didn't have time. Diddy didn't even flinch. He just looked forward. Then something unexpected happened. The doors opened again, and in walked someone nobody expected to be involved. Drake. He wore a dark green jacket, sunglasses, and walked with his head down, but his presence electrified the room. Phones buzzed like crazy. The judge immediately ordered media silence, but it was already too late. The headlines were being written in real time. Drake arrives at Diddy trial? What does he know about Taylor? Music's biggest names collide in court. Drake stood to testify. He wasn't subpoenaed. He came on his own. I'm not here to take sides, he said at first. But I've known Diddy for years. We've worked together, fought, made peace. I never thought I'd speak about this. But now I know I have to. He turned toward Taylor. In 2020, I was working on a collaborative deal, a streaming project with Diddy. We were shopping it to a few companies, one of which Taylor had ties to. Out of nowhere, meetings started getting canceled. Investors pulled out. The message was quiet but clear. Don't align with Diddy. He paused. I asked why. I was told off the record that Taylor wasn't comfortable with Diddy having too much control. Gasps. Drake took a breath. At the time, I didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. I thought maybe it was ego, maybe it was just business politics. But now, I think it was more. I think someone made sure Diddy's influence stayed small. The judge asked, do you have written communication or direct evidence? Drake nodded. I brought emails, contract drafts, and one recorded phone call with a project manager who dropped us after mentioning Taylor's involvement. He handed over a flash drive to the clerk. Taylor's team stood in protest, claiming this was public ambush, but the judge ruled it admissible. What happened next changed everything. The courtroom screen lit up once more. A portion of the call Drake mentioned played out loud. "We're pulling the plug. Higher-ups think the optics aren't right. Diddy's name makes people nervous, especially her." "Her who?" Drake asked in the recording. "Taylor. This came from her level." That was it. Diddy didn't smile. He didn't need to. Taylor's head slowly dropped. Her team huddled tightly. The foundation was cracking. Outside, things were even worse. Fans clashed in the streets. Swifties defended her fiercely. Diddy supporters said it was all finally coming to light. Think pieces popped up everywhere. Is Taylor Swift just another brand machine? Behind the curtain, the power of silence in pop culture. The judge paused the trial briefly. Behind closed doors, court officials began to discuss the possibility of a full industry-wide investigation. Back in her private lounge, Taylor sat alone. She wasn't crying, but she looked lost, like someone watching their carefully built castle start to fall, brick by brick. Her lawyer entered. "They're going to go after the entire agency next," he said quietly. "We need a plan." Taylor didn't answer at first. Then finally she whispered, "He always knew I had the reach." Outside, Diddy walked through the crowd without speaking. People clapped quietly. Some just stood aside in respect. A few asked for selfies, which he didn't stop for. He wasn't celebrating. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about exposing a system. And now, that system was finally bleeding. The city outside the courthouse didn't sleep that night. News vans camped along the streets. Helicopters hovered overhead. Social media couldn't stop spinning. One half of the internet cried, "Lies!" and defended Taylor Swift like a queen under siege. The other half watched in stunned silence as more and more of her carefully built empire began to crumble. But inside Diddy's hotel room, the mood was calm. He sat at the edge of the bed, looking down at a thick black folder, locked by a clasp, untouched for years. Inside that folder was something he had never planned to reveal. Something that could destroy careers, crush billion-dollar companies, and maybe even change how people saw the music industry forever. He had kept it safe for over a decade, but now, the world was finally ready for it. The next morning, the courtroom filled quicker than ever. Journalists ran inside. Lawyers looked more nervous. Even the judge had a deeper crease in his forehead. He knew today would be different. Taylor Swift entered through the private hallway. Her face was blank. No emotion, just silence. Her legal team flanked her on both sides. They weren't confident anymore. They looked like people walking into a storm they could no longer control. Diddy arrived last. But this time, he wasn't alone. He walked in with a man beside him. Tall, white beard, glasses, black leather briefcase. The room went quiet. Some people recognized him right away. His name was Arnold Trask, a retired music executive turned whistleblower. Once one of the most powerful men behind the scenes, now a ghost who vanished after walking away from the industry 5 years ago. Until today. The judge looked up. "Mr. Combs, you've requested permission to present previously unreleased material. Is that correct?" Diddy nodded. "Yes, Your Honor, and I've brought someone to back it up." Arnold stepped forward. "I'm here voluntarily," he said, adjusting his glasses. "What I'm about to say may cost me everything I built. But if I stay quiet now, then I was never really free." He held up a USB stick. "This contains a backup copy of what Diddy has. We both received the same information in 2015, a private audit file from inside a publicity firm connected to major industry figures. It was sent anonymously by a former assistant who disappeared shortly after. We've never released it. Until now." The judge allowed it. As the file was loaded onto the courtroom screen, everyone leaned forward. The first document was a client profile. Not just any client, Taylor Swift, listed under a code name, CROWN. Next to her name were bullet points: influence, extreme. Control, high. Targets, 6. Notes. Crown. Demands dominance in all digital and commercial lanes. Interference is to be neutralized via brand targeting. Priority status, Gold tier. Protect at all costs. The room went still. Another file showed a project breakdown titled Silencing Operation. Target C003. Sean Combs. Under it were clear orders. Create distraction through scandal. Suppress streaming boosts. Trigger tabloid cycles. Block Grammy push. Prevent cross-industry deals. Taylor's face went pale. The audience murmured louder than ever before. The judge ordered quiet. But the damage was already done. Next, Diddy's lawyer presented a memo from 2018. It read, Target may pursue tech deals. Ensure all partnering brands receive performance red flags from secondary channels. Reach out to trusted label heads for soft interference. Arnold spoke again. We always thought this was business, competitive tactics. But when I saw this language, the precision, the planning, I realized it wasn't just about business. It was about complete control. He turned to the jury. This wasn't about making music. It was about owning the entire story and erasing anyone who didn't follow the script. Taylor's lawyer stood, shaky but still trying. This is all circumstantial. There's no proof she gave these orders herself. Arnold shook his head. She didn't have to. That's how power works at that level. She built the system. Others ran it. But the orders came from the top, always. Taylor looked away. Her eyes glistened for the first time. But she didn't speak. She just sat there, lips tight, hands clenched. Then came the final blow. Diddy stood. I wasn't going to bring this out. I thought maybe I'd take it to my grave. But seeing how many people got hurt because I stayed silent, that ain't right. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small recorder. This was a conversation I had in 2020 with a label CEO. He didn't know I was recording. He thought I was asking for advice, but he told me everything. He played the tape. You're on a blacklist, Puff. Not official, but real. And I hate to say it, but it ain't the men doing it. This came from her side. Taylor's got more pull than the Grammy board. And when she tells people to freeze you out, they listen. Boom. The courtroom cracked. Some people clapped. Some just sat in shock. Taylor stood suddenly. For the first time in days, she spoke directly. I never wanted this, she said quietly. I was protecting what I built. She didn't deny it. She didn't try to explain it away. She just stood there, alone, in the middle of the courtroom. And the silence said it all. Outside the courthouse, the air had changed. Gone were the cheerful fans in cardigans singing Taylor Swift songs. Gone were the influencers making TikToks with signs that said, Justice for Taylor. What replaced them were whispers, doubts, unanswered questions. And a new crowd, silent, older, angrier, holding signs that read, Music isn't a weapon. No one is untouchable. We believe the silenced. Inside the courtroom, everything felt colder. Taylor Swift walked in slowly. She wore a simple black suit, her hair tied back in a way that was more corporate than celebrity. She didn't wave to the reporters. She didn't smile. Her skin looked pale, like someone who hadn't slept in days. Beside her, her lawyer walked stiffly, carrying thick folders. His voice was low, his steps unsure. Across the aisle, Diddy sat tall, calm, focused, but tired. This wasn't joy. It wasn't revenge. It was the exhaustion of someone who'd carried a weight for too long and finally dropped it in front of the world. The judge entered. Due to yesterday's developments, he said, and rising public reaction, this courtroom will now operate under partial media blackout. No photography, no recording, but proceedings will continue. Then he turned to Taylor's side. Does the defense wish to respond to the newly submitted recordings and witness statements? Her lawyer stood slowly. Yes, Your Honor. But first, we have a situation. The judge raised an eyebrow. Go on? Taylor's lawyer cleared his throat. Three of Ms. Swift's public relations executives have submitted resignation letters. They will no longer testify on her behalf. Two have issued public apologies on social media, and one has agreed to cooperate with the court. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Taylor blinked, stunned. The judge leaned back in his chair. "Do we have the name of the cooperating individual?" A woman entered from the rear of the courtroom. She was young, no older than 30. Her name was Maya Quinn, a former digital strategist who worked on Taylor's 2018 and 2019 brand campaigns. Online, she was known as the aesthetic queen behind Swift's pastel Instagram era. Now she looked like a ghost from a place that no longer existed. "I didn't know everything," she said nervously. "But I knew enough, and I was told to stay quiet." She walked to the witness stand. "Please explain," the judge said. "I helped manage media drops, timing interviews, sending fan tweets to boost attention, and flagging rising artists who were inconvenient." She swallowed. "We had a list, a quiet one. Celebs to slow down. Celebs to protect." Sean Combs was red flagged in red text. She handed over a printed log of media activity planning. Diddy's name appeared multiple times. Each time it was paired with words like delay, distract, redirect narrative. Taylor sat still, lips pressed tight. Maya looked at her. "I was loyal. I believed you. But I saw what it did to people. Careers ended. Stories buried. And I can't keep pretending that was okay." A tear ran down her cheek. Diddy closed his eyes. The judge took the file and sighed. "We'll enter this into evidence. The court acknowledges the bravery of this testimony." Then came the moment no one saw coming. A loud bang echoed from the hallway outside. People in the gallery turned. Guards rushed to the door. A protest had broken through the outer court barrier. Shouts filled the building. "She ruined careers. Diddy stood alone for years. Tell the truth, Taylor." The judge slammed the gavel. "Clear the gallery." For the first time, court was paused due to public unrest. Security escorted everyone out, even the media. Only legal teams, the judge, and core parties remained. Taylor stood slowly. She turned toward Diddy. "I didn't start this to hurt anyone," she said. "I was protecting a brand, a name, and I lost control." Diddy shook his head. "You didn't lose control. You gave it orders." Silence. After a long pause, Taylor turned to the judge. "I'd like to make a private request to your chambers." Her lawyer panicked. "Taylor," but she raised her hand. "Let me speak." The judge nodded. "You may speak privately, but the outcome will be entered into the public record." Taylor walked slowly with the judge to a side room. The rest of the court waited. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Finally, the judge returned. Alone. He looked exhausted. "The defense has made a request to move to settlement and accept full liability for all documented actions to this point," he said. "Remaining motions will continue, but Taylor Swift has effectively conceded." Gasps. Even Diddy looked surprised. "She has agreed to release a formal statement, submit her team for review, and resign from several brand partnerships immediately." The courtroom was stunned. Taylor Swift, the most powerful woman in pop, had just surrendered. The sun was just beginning to rise when Taylor Swift released her official statement. She didn't post it as a Notes app screenshot. She didn't film a video with sad music in the background. She released it through the court, typed, signed, and filed publicly. It read, "I have spent years building a story about strength, honesty, and empowerment. But part of that story left out something very important, the truth. I took part in actions that targeted and hurt other artists, including Sean Combs. I allowed people around me to use their power to protect my brand, even when it came at the cost of someone else's career. I deeply regret this. I take responsibility. I ask for forgiveness, not from the media, but from the people I hurt." The world didn't know how to respond at first. Some fans cried. Some turned on her. Some said it was brave. Others called it too late. But one thing was certain. The empire Taylor Swift built had just shifted, and nothing would ever be the same. Inside the courtroom, the air was heavy. Everyone knew it was the final day. The judge was ready to deliver his decision. No more witnesses, no more files, just the truth, standing naked in the middle of the room. Diddy sat quietly. He wasn't smiling. His eyes were tired but peaceful, like someone who had fought for years and finally reached the last step. He held no paper, no folder, no phone, just his voice. The judge turned to him. "Mr. Combs, do you have any final remarks?" Diddy stood. The room went silent. "For a long time, I believed silence was strength," he began. "That real power didn't cry, didn't speak up, didn't name names. That we protect the game, even when the game stops protecting us." He paused, looking around the room, at the lawyers, the jury, and finally, Taylor. "But I learned that silence is what they count on. Silence is what gives them space to move in the dark." He took a deep breath. "I don't hate Taylor. I never did. I don't think she's evil. But she had a choice. And she chose to protect her image, her machine, her seat at the top, no matter who got crushed under it." He turned to the judge. "I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for a public punishment. What I want is for this to be the last time someone gets hurt for speaking their truth in this business." The judge nodded slowly. Taylor didn't respond. She simply sat still, hands folded, eyes lowered. The judge looked at the court. After review of all submitted evidence, witness statements, and public conduct, this court finds that intentional efforts were made to suppress the career of Mr. Combs through coordinated media manipulation, contract interference, and covert blacklisting, directed or authorized by Ms. Swift's team. A long pause. This court recommends a full federal industry ethics investigation into label influence, PR agency misconduct, and streaming manipulation within the entertainment sector. Gasps. For Ms. Swift, the judge continued, this court accepts her admission of liability. It is recommended she be removed from active roles in branding negotiations, promotional campaigns, and industry lobbying for a period of 3 years. A financial contribution to the Artist Equity Recovery Fund will be arranged, with specific funding directed toward artists who suffered media suppression or blacklisting. The gavel struck once. Court adjourned. And just like that, it was over. Outside, it wasn't chaos, it wasn't celebration, it was quiet. People stood still, just watching as Taylor left the building first. She didn't speak to the cameras. She didn't wave. Her driver opened the car door. She stepped in, closed it behind her, and drove off without saying a word. Diddy came out next. This time, no crowd blocked his path. They just watched him walk. Some nodded. Some whispered, "Respect." A few clapped softly. He walked down the steps without a single guard. He had walked in carrying the weight of years of silence. Now, he walked out free. 1 week later, a wave hit the music industry. Executives resigned. PR firms shut down quietly. Podcasts began dropping tell-all episodes. Artists who were once scared started speaking out. What started as one case became a movement. They called it the Unmuted Generation. A new award show was announced, the Free Voices Awards, celebrating independent artists who spoke their truth, no matter the risk. And Diddy? He didn't go back to the clubs. He didn't drop a diss track. Instead, he launched a new foundation, Truth Room, to help young artists fight industry abuse, contract traps, and forced silence. As for Taylor, she disappeared for a while. No new music, no interviews, just quiet. Until, 6 months later, she walked onto a small stage. No lights, no dancers, just her, a guitar, and one line. "Before I tell you where I'm going next, I need to be honest about where I've been." Some forgave her, some didn't. But the world had changed. Because one man stood up in a courtroom, spoke the truth out loud, and finally, they listened.